Good morning, everyone. I'd just like to give you a review of ancient Africa before you take your assessment this morning. I'd like to start out by talking about the geography. The geography of Africa helped to shape the history and development of the culture and the civilization of ancient Africa. The geography impacted where people could live, important trade resources such as gold and salt, and trade routes that helped different civilizations to interact and develop. Desert. The Sahara is the world's largest and hottest desert. It covers an area the size of the United States, and very few people are able to live there. Deserts are the areas that typically get only fewer than 10 inches of rain a year. Desertification is the process of once fertile farmland turning to desert. It reduces the amount of crops that can be grown, increases starvation, and maintains poverty. Hundreds of years ago, gold and salt came across the Sahara on the backs of camels. The savannas. The African savanna is the largest in the world. It covers almost half of Africa. Savannas are hot, dry grassland. In a savanna, the grass is tall and thick. Trees are short and scattered. The savannas is a migration land for 1.5 million animals like buffalo, gazelles, and zebra. It's the grazing land for cattle, goats, and sheep. The biggest threat to the African savanna is the increasing number of people. For instance, it requires the opening of more farmland, which means less land for animals. Although the soil is rich, farming in the savannas is limited because of disease-carrying insects. The rainforest. A rainforest is a dense evergreen forest with an annual rainfall of at least 60 inches. Rainforests are found in parts of the world that are warm and humid and usually in the area near the Earth's equator. Part of the rainforest is in Ghana, an agricultural and mining nation. The rivers and streams in a rainforest support fish, alligators, and crocodiles. In addition, it's the home to birds, frogs, toads, and snakes, as well as monkeys and chimpanzees. For most of Africa's history, the rainforest has been home to small groups of people who lived by gathering food from the forest or living on small subsistence farms. Early settlers lived simple lives that had little impact on their environments. However, that changed when European nations discovered the riches in the rainforest. Thousands of the people who had lived in the rainforest were forced to work on these plantations, and their traditional ways of life began to disappear. Rivers. Egyptian civilization developed along the Nile River in large part because the river's annual flooding ensured reliable, rich soil for growing crops. In addition, ancient Egyptians developed wide-reaching trade networks along the Nile. The Nile is the biggest river in Africa. Now I want to turn your attention to Bantu migration. The Bantu migration had an enormous impact on Africa's economic, cultural, and political practices. Bantu migrants introduced many new skills into the communities that interacted with, including sophisticated farming and industry. These skills included growing crops and forging tools and weapons from metal. The causes of the Bantu migration: exhaustion of local resources, overpopulation, there was tribal rivalries, climate changes, famine, and increased competition for local resources. Some of the major achievements of the Bantus: well, the introduction of ironmaking. They introduced ironmaking and the use of ironmaking throughout much of Africa. And when iron smelting started, there was an increase in food production. The knowledge of iron smelting led to the making of bows, arrows, and spears for the defense and protection, which gave them an advantage when territorial wars broke out. Many anthropologists believe that the language spread across Africa as a result of the migration. For example, a Bantu language is the first language of nearly 1/3 of all Africans. Now let's focus on African kingdoms. For hundreds of years, trade crisscrossed West Africa. For most of that time, West Africans did not profit much from the Saharan trade because the routes were run by Berbers. Eventually, that situation changed. A succession of 3 great kingdoms came to power as their people gained control of valuable trade routes in West Africa. Ghana was the first of these empires, followed by kingdoms of Mali and Songhai. So let's focus on Ghana. Ghana was a great military power. It was ruled by a king, which was assisted by his council of elders. The main source of wealth for the empire of Ghana came by way of trading. For instance, Ghana controlled the trade route between the salt mines and the gold mines. There was also a system incorporated called the silent barter system because different languages were spoken. To do a silent barter, one group of traders would go to a certain place, leaving whatever they are offering to trade. The other group of traders would then decide if they would like to accept the goods that were left. If the goods were met with approval, the second group would then take the goods, leave their own goods in return, and leave because the person accepted the offer. Around 1050 CE, the Empire of Ghana began to come under pressure from the Muslims to the north to convert to Islam. The king of Ghana refused and soon came under constant attacks from northern Africa. As a result, Ghana weakened and eventually became part of the Mali Empire. Mali gained control of the gold and salt trade and traded other goods with its neighbors. Mali grew larger than Ghana, and after the takeover, Sandata Keita was the first king. Most of Mali is a hot, sandy, rocky desert, yet the Niger River runs through it, so the people adapted to the environment by becoming farmers, miners, and traders. Other trade items consisted of books, copper, cloth, shells, ivory, and slaves. Timbuktu was an important trading city in Mali. Perhaps the most famous of the Mali emperors was Mansa Musa. It is said that Mansa Musa was extremely rich and that he brought as many as 60,000 people along with him on his premises. He also brought camels loaded with gold. Mansa gave away and spent a significant amount of gold, but he also brought back a lot of new ideas to Mali. This included a number of scholars, such as architects, poets, and teachers who helped to improve his empire. Eventually, Mali declined, and Songhai took his place and built an even larger empire. Songhai was also based on the gold-salt trade, and they continued to trade items like cola nuts and slaves as well. Songhai started out as a fishing community. They traded fish for goods they wanted and needed. Songhai was a Muslim kingdom. Islam was a unifying force for the people and an important factor for maintaining state power. One of Songhai's greatest rulers was Askia Muhammad Tori, later became Askia the Great. Like Mansa Musa, Askia worked to support education. Under his rule, the city of Timbuktu flourished once again. The great city, contained universities, schools, libraries, and mosques. Songhai was the largest, yet the shortest-lived empire. Changes in patterns completed Songhai's fall. Overland trade declined as port cities north and south of the old empire became more important. For example, people who lived south of Songhai began to trade along the Atlantic coast. European traders preferred to sail to ancient ports than to deal with Muslim traders. Slowly, the period of great Western African empires came to an end. Griots. They were storytellers who often used music, dancing, and songs to tell their stories. Griots kept history and family records because the people did not have a written language until Mansa Musa. Much of what we know about the West African kingdoms come from these griots. Now let's focus on two other kingdoms, the kingdom of Aksum and the kingdom of Great Zimbabwe. The kingdom of Aksum, its location along the Red Sea and the Nile River made it one of the most important and wealthiest trading centers. Items that moved in and out of its ports included ivory, hippopotamus hides, gold, animals, and perfumes. Aksum created their own script, which is still used today. They minted their own coins. In fact, they were the first to add the cross to coins. An important piece of Aksum's legacy was the architecture. King Izenga declared Christianity as the official religion. This made them different from other kingdoms and civilizations we have covered. The Kingdom of Great Zimbabwe. The name Zimbabwe means stone house. It was a complex stone city. It became a center for trade. For instance, it generated its riches by controlling the sources and trade of the most prized items such as gold, ivory, and copper. Rulers were both powerful economic and religious leaders for the region. A lot is unknown about the Great Zimbabwe civilization because many of the artifacts were destroyed or taken when the British occupied Africa. Great Zimbabwe was surrounded by a wall that was 36 feet high. All right, Panthers, this concludes your lesson on ancient Africa. Good luck and do your very best on the assessment today.